Hello, everyone. We are back to Ask Alliance. And today we have very special guests with their local yet nationally known Allrite home and remodel firm. And all I'm going to say before we're going to go to introduce and give the word to Randy and Jordan Miller is that if you want it done right, just call Allrite. And here's Randy. Do you want to start? And then we'll go to Jordan.
Sure. A little bit about our background. Is that what you're looking for from us?
Yeah, just tell us about your firm. And I know it's a third generation firm.
Yes, the third generation is on. Yep, the third generation is on here with me. Jordan, my son. We've been in business now for 52 years. I've been the second generation owner, 16 years officially on last Saturday. So we do all exterior remodeling of roofing, siding, windows, gutters, doors, decks, and also insulation as well. And just absolutely enjoying having my son, the next generation, as part of the organization and helping, just going back and forth with ideas and, our future growth. So I'll let him talk a little more if he's got something to add.
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it as well too, obviously. And I plan on taking the reins hopefully in the next 4 years and making you proud and making our uncle proud as well and continuing our legacy that we built. And actually the fourth generation as well was just born. He's 18 months and is my little man as well. And hopefully he wants to take on my reins someday as well too. So.
That is awesome. Thank you. I gotta say, just a little testimonial. We've known each other for more than a decade and been really, really helpful to me as friends and true professionals for our clients. And the product is a top quality. So
thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you for your help too. I had two houses with you, so.
Thank you. All right, so shall we start with a few questions that we gathered from the audience and just go with that? Who wants to go first?
I can go. Just a quick thank you again, Jordan and Randy, for joining us today. It's a pleasure to meet you guys. So first question is about siding. So there's different kinds of siding that when it comes to materials and styles, what are the pros and cons of each one? And are there any warranties involved when it comes to different materials?
Jordan, you want to start?
Jinx. Sure, I can start. So there's a wide variety of different options that are out there. And the biggest thing to end up looking at is, first of all, cost efficiency, but also your neighborhood and looking for when you're trying to choose an actual product. There's anything from vinyl sidings to the insulated and uninsulated vinyl siding. And then there's the shake profiles and many different profiles in the vinyl lines themselves, and then many different brands of different vinyls as well. And each one has its own inherent color schemes and color options available. So it's really important to end up having a wide variety whenever you're dealing with a contractor, that they have a wide variety to offer you as well. And there is composite sidings out there like the James Hardy's cement board siding, or the LP Smart siding, which is more of a wood-based composite siding that's actually made in Upper Wisconsin as well.
Sure. And as far as with the question concerning the warranties, yes, they all do end up having warranties. They do vary. The vinyl siding has a tendency of having a lifetime warranty. Quite a bit, it also will include the labor. The LP Smart Side has a 50-year warranty on the materials, and that too has a 5-year workmanship warranty along top with it. So wide variety of warranties. When we end up getting together, the thing we do is making sure that we, like Jordan had stated, make sure that it's going to fit properly within the neighborhoods. Does that answer it enough for you?
I think so. It's a good start. Now, I'm just curious, as far as maintenance goes, which ones are easier to take care of? I know that, with our snow and our rain and our sun, homes that have certain sidings, like on the west side, seem to fade out faster. And then also with warranties, a number of years ago, we were having issues with siding, that came out of China or something like that. And then there were lawsuits, and I'm not quite sure how ultimately that was resolved. But, is there a way to avoid, if we're novices and we don't know what kind of siding to put on, how do we avoid some of those issues?
Good concerns, good questions. As far as with the fading concern that you had of years of the past, a lot of that has changed over the years, and that's having to do with the coatings that are put on the vinyl siding. Years back as well, you would never end up seeing outside lawn furniture in darker colors. Nowadays, you're seeing it, and it's not fading out anymore. That's the acrylics that they're actually using in the materials. It's the same thing as far as with vinyl siding and how that is lasting and longevity-wise. They test a lot of the materials. The other products that are being used, the best answer for those, the Hardy planks, the LP Smart Side, don't have it field painted when it's first being applied. Your best approach would be to have it factory finished, and that way it's a baked on finish, and it's going to end up lasting longer for our weather, for all of the different conditions. By the way, all of those products in comparison to wood siding is also much better, both for our elements of the outdoors and also the critters of the area, because the biggest problem we've been running into lately is the woodpeckers. Everybody's run up against it. I see a lot of head nodding there. Yeah, so all of these options will end up working much better for your clients and for the consumers that are listening on in comparison to cedar siding.
And you brought up, obviously, your finishes or longevity-wise, and sounding like you have a lot of mixed opinions, because you are probably getting mixed answers as well. And it's so important to find a contractor as well that you're comfortable with. I mean, I hear it all the time as well, that, it almost feels forced into certain aspects. And I tell a client, if you're dealing with a contractor and it does feel forced in any way, or you're not getting all the answers that you want, or even if they're not fully taking you down the path of actually explaining the pros and cons over different products, and they're just trying to push you into one route, there may be a reason why, and it may not be the right fit for you. Finding a contractor that fits your needs, and obviously the budget as well, is going to be important.
I just have one more quick follow-up, and then I'll let the next person. So are there any sidings that you would recommend that could be changed in color? We've seen homes, maybe in some of the suburbs that, when blue was the big color, they sided their home in blue in 1980. And now we are 40 years later, and we've been told, no, you can't paint vinyl siding. You're stuck with the blue unless you're going to re-side your home. How do we project the siding that we're buying today is still going to be effective in 20 years when we go to sell, or whatever the case may be?
You want to start?
Sure.
Did I freeze?
So just a little, it's fine though. So with the vinyls, you're not wrong. They don't always recommend you to end up painting it. The reason being is because you're going to have to keep painting it. I mean, it does come down as being as simple as that as well. But with the LP Smart Sides and the James Hardys that are out there, those can be painted over the top again, with pretty much any type of color that you want after the fact. So as far as being able to paint the composites that are out there, you definitely can. The vinyls, it gets a little bit different, and the longevity of how long that paint's going to last is definitely not going to be the same as obviously a new substrate that you'd be applying a paint to.
The other thing that I think I would bring up would be the fact that after 40 years, it's more or less run its course as far as for siding. All you're doing is prolonging it maybe a little bit, but realistically, the 30-year time frame is approximately how long most siding styles, colors, materials are made to end up lasting. I mean, tell me, which is easier to sell? A home that's got a 6-inch profile or 6.5-inch profile of either cedar or composite or even vinyl, or a 10-inch aluminum siding. You know, that 10-inch aluminum, you can tell it's a dated look and should be updated. So that's something to keep in mind.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Not to mention all the dings that you can easily see on the aluminum siding. You know, anytime you hit it or whatever, the ding just stays there, and over time it just looks ugly. And yeah.
We still have 40 offers on that house with aluminum siding in today's world. So that was my sorry if that's what goes on right now, but totally
offers are
agree.
there, but you know that your client who's buying it is still going to have to look at updating it in the near future.
For sure. For sure.
So that's very interesting. And I've been wondering if painting over the siding would affect the warranty on the siding.
When you're talking about siding that's that old, there's really not much left of any kind of warranty. You know,
I see.
It does prorate, it does, and yes, if it's a newer siding that somebody decided that they were going to try and paint, manufacturers might have an issue with those, but not with the products like LP Smart Side. It's they're warranting the product itself, not the paint.
I see. And which material would you say carries the best warranty?
The one that is put on that's going to end up fitting that homeowner's needs the best. Because I won't sell based on warranties. I'd sell based on what's going to make the most sense for them in their home. Because you guys can answer me this question, since you're the panel expert here. What's the average amount of time frame that a homeowner is going to stay in their home? Average.
7-8 years.
7-8 years. So every one of the warranties will be much further past that anyways. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. It does.
Yeah. Edward, you got any other questions or?
I'm good.
All right. As far as roofing goes, guys, can you shed some light on types of roofing, maintenance that's involved? You know, cedar. There's some cedar imitation roofings these days, like synthetic cedar or whatnot. And also the second layer, as far as throwing second layer versus doing a tear down. Sorry, there's a lot of questions, but yeah.
No, they're great questions, definitely. So start off with, I guess, different varieties. So there's asphalt, and then there's realistically composites, and then metals, and then real wood shakes that are out there. So we're starting to see a huge interesting thing, I guess, happening is that 3-tab shingles, which is a very old school traditional style where it's very flat looking shingle, a non-dimensional shingle, is becoming almost a non-existent thing soon. And the one thing to answer your question as far as roof overs go, is the only way that you can go over the top of another layer is to end up having a 3-tab shingle and one layer only. So you can only add a second layer on top. If it is a dimensional shingle, which is a 3-dimensional, the kind of shingle that most of us think about now, as far as more modern shingle, it's going to not be able to actually go over the top of, and you actually reduce warranties if you ever did go over the top of another shingle, even if it is a 3-tab shingle as well. As far as different specialty shingles, their asphalt has its own types, and each brand has their own types of different specialties that can look anything like slates to the shakes to even scallop looks, and kind of everything in between, including like a T interlock style as well. So those are a few different asphalts. On the metals, we see the standing seam, which I call the McDonald's, if you will, type roof. And those are one version of metal. And then there's another version of metal that's a more asphalt type granulation that's actually applied over the top. So it gives it the impression of a dimensional shingle instead of an actual standing seam or a very metal look to the actual roofing itself. And we prefer that type of metal roofing because you can do maintenance on it, you can walk on it. With a standing seam roof, which it's very hard to actually do any type of maintenance on that type of product itself. And then you have your composites, your synthetic shakes and your synthetic slates that are out there as well. I can let my father kind of elaborate on those.
Sure. Like Jordan was saying, there are different styles that are out there. They look like slate, they look like shake, they've got diamonds. They're all the different types of composites that are out there. What's nice about them is they are all class 4 impact resistant shingle. The insurance companies are now starting to give more and more discounts for that on that style of shingle. We actually were written up for a project we did on a Frank Lloyd Wright project to give it that original style and appearance to it. And so we got international recognition on that. The other thing about the asphalt shingles, there's quite a few of them out there that have an algae resistance to them also. When you have homes that have that growth that is going on, whether it's a black streakiness that's on there or moss that's growing, things like that, they actually built into the shingle approximately a 10% copper coating that every time it rains, it helps eat away at those growths that are on there to keep it looking fresh and newer looking for a longer period of time. So that helps reduce the amount of maintenance that has to be done on the roof itself for longer periods of time. And you had mentioned the cedar shake roofs as well. Well, we all know what's going on as far as in the industry with lumber pricing right now, which is getting crazier and crazier. Fortunately, most of the subdivisions that are requiring, there's the one that we actually did, the Frank Lloyd Wright house that we had gotten the national and international recognition for.
Awesome.
But a lot of the subdivisions that have requirements have changed and are now allowing styles like you just saw, because they do look very natural looking like regular cedar, and yet there's no maintenance, and longevity wise, they're made to last longer.
Can you
Awesome.
think of any reason, positive reason, why the associations are still holding on to regular cedar shake roofs and not using their man-made material to simplify their living of the owners?
Simplicity. I mean, they want to end up holding the value of the properties, and honestly, styles like that will do it. I think their fear is of opening up a door, somebody's going to come up with something that's not going to end up keeping that quality of an appearance. And I think that's the only concern that could actually be out there. But they really do need to think outside the box, because it's really not the best product for our elements. And it's not like cedar shake of old that, you know, the generations of wood are just not lasting the way they used to. So any of them that aren't, be happy to end up talking to them, and so would manufacturers too.
Yes, yes. We should get you to talking to associations, right?
Be happy
wonderful.
to.
Yes, thank you.
So now I want to go to now that we've talked roofs and siding, obviously a big component are windows. And there are decorative windows, there are double hung windows, there's pros and cons. And as you talk about, the pros and cons of various windows, I have a question. You see on the commercials on TV, like some low cost. You can get a household of windows, for $1,000. And of course, and then you go, well, all right, $2,000. And then, on the other hand, you go into some of the more name brands, Pella, Anderson, what have you, that are 10 times as expensive. And, how do you, a double hung is a double hung, or am I wrong? I'm wrong. Okay.
Yeah. That's like saying a car is a car.
Isn't
is a
it?
Yugo going to perform as good as a Tesla or a Cadillac or a BMW? There's difference.
What's a Yugo?
What was that?
What's a Yugo?
What's a Yugo? Yeah. Okay, fine.
The first car that your father owned was a Yugo.
I never
That's
had.
about the same era as a Gremlin.
Or a
Yeah,
Gremlin.
I know that one.
So, but you get what you pay for, just like anything. And when you're talking about the Pellas and the Andersons and those name brands, majority of that window is either a fiberglass or a wood window from the inside, and then it's a cladding on the outside. So they've improved even on that end. But they're always making changes for the positives from the different manufacturers. Sometimes errors happen, but they're there to correct it and rectify it. And that's what a good company will end up doing, to stand behind that. But I'm
still confused. You've got panes of glass, you've got a frame, you've got a window that opens and closes. I get the difference between I get the difference, you get what you pay for type of thing, but glass is glass. I'm really still confused over the how a Pella is still going to be, miles ahead of another company when it's glass and cladding and wood or vinyl. Or whatever the frame is.
So you are paying a little bit, obviously, for the peace of mind, if you will. There's always going to end up being some form of, a name brand that we can rattle off our tongues. They pay a lot in their marketing, obviously, to begin with, but also in the coverage itself. And you do pay for a little bit better warranties with those brands over some of the others in that way too. But it's a lot of it has to do with how big those companies are, and that you have peace of mind that they're not going out of business either. That speaks a lot for that, and we've seen it. We're changing out windows now from 30 years ago, and there's different companies that are no longer around, or their models have completely changed, and you can't end up even going through the warranty process in that way. So there's definitely inherent concerns with some of the brands that are out there that are definitely going to be lower end. And to answer your question, as far as the whole house of windows, I wouldn't want to see what the install looks like in the end. Truthfully, I got to pay my guys fair wages, and if they're not paying their guys, or they say a free install, it's got to be a gimmick. And if it sounds too good to be true, that it most likely is.
As well as the fact that the materials themselves, let's separate it out. If you want me to talk about vinyl material, it's going to range. The thickness, spacer systems between the glass. Is it a welded frame versus a mechanical frame? Mechanical frames are not made to end up lasting as long. Are the framing systems that are together, do they have those chambers reinforced in between in the vinyl itself? Because vinyl's a plastic. It's a form of a plastic. And if it's not properly supported, it's just not going to end up lasting. And it is moving, it's a constant moving thing of expansion and contraction. So it's all about the makeup of the units themselves, and the working mechanics are involved, and the types of install when you're talking about replacements of the windows as well. Because in this day and age, everyone seems to be wanting more of that outside light coming into the house. And if you do window replacements, there's a good possibility you can lose a full inch of of visibility to from the outside to the inside with some of the replacement windows. So it's got to be handled properly and giving the customer the best thing for them when we end up doing replacement. And then when you end up going into the fiberglass and the wood windows, it's the products, the service, the sustainability of those materials, it's matching of existing woodwork, and like Jordan had said, the expertise of the install and the company that's willing to back it and be there if something does end up going awry.
What's nice about our company is we carry almost every major manufacturer. So, you know, we're not just an Anderson, not just a Pella, not just a Marvin offering, you know, and which is nice. I love it because I don't have to try to push somebody, you know, we try to figure out what fits their needs and their budget and realistically to make sure that, you know, they're not overspending or not overpaying for some.
And I guess my last question on windows is, what's the in window of the 21st millennium? I mean, at some point, you know, we had bay windows, and then there were, you know, the windows in the kitchen where you could grow, you know, herbs, or, you know, there was always some window. I know they leaked a lot too, but is there an
always is a problem?
Skylights.
No, they've improved on the skylights. They've actually done a really good job of improvement on those. It's actually they've now got a no leak warranty on the framing system of the skylights now. So awesome. Yes, but what is going into the future? I would say again, the more air coming from the outside, and again, nicer openings. One thing that I would say that we're seeing with the new generation of buyers, they've kind of been listening more to what their parents have said of, if you get the job done with quality, you'll find you avoid more problems. And we're hearing younger generation asking for higher end materials, where in years past, I would say it was more of, it's my starter home, I don't see myself staying here as long. They seem to have the attitude of, maybe we're going to stay here a little bit longer, let's get a quality materials and let's deal with a good quality third generation salesman, because a lot of my customers, their kids are coming back to us, and now Jordan's taking care of them in a lot of cases. So I don't even get to run those leads.
Thank you.
Would you agree, Jordan?
Yeah, no, that's exactly, I mean, that's my passion. That's my biggest passion, is to actually end up, you know, dealing with your clients, but also my past clients as well. And I've gone through the generations in that way too. I mean, I was just dealing with a daughter of a client of yours, actually, from the past, and another client of yours as well that referred us to their cousin too. So I mean, it's just so cool to be able to actually do that and to continue, you know, everything that you built up, but also, you know, just be able to help our customers and be able to be somebody that actually they can trust to call. You know, I love the fact that I get calls from my clients, and even if I don't do it, you know, they'll call me for electrical recommendations. They'll call me for plumbing recommendations. I tell them to, because that's how I love that. I know my network is, I can be confident. I know that it's going to help them in the long run, and they're going to be more happy to call me for when they're ready for something else.
Yeah, and the way I would describe the quality is when you open a window and you cannot say how old it is, it feels like new. And it's been there maybe for 20 years and it still feels like new, versus the one that was installed 2 years ago and you think, oh my gosh, the replacement is coming.
Definitely.
So,
I think we're going to see a continuous shift toward the synthetic looking, or the synthetic not looking, but synthetic woods and things that'll end up giving you the stained looks without the maintenance involved. That we've seen vinyl take that on, but I think we're going to start seeing that more and more with like the fiberglass and the composite type materials that are going that direction. I don't see that not happening. The other thing is the third hinge panel. I know Pella's got one for their casement windows for having in between the glass blinds. So they're one of the very few that do actually have that as an option. And I have a feeling that some other companies will start to come to market as they end up getting the technology there.
Any TVs like installed in glass, just like mirrors in the bathrooms? No. Oh, there was one that I've seen. It was in the bathroom. It was a huge mirror. I mean, mirror glass window. And then when you started taking a bath, it will shade itself to become some kind of painting or something.
Wow.
So,
That's awesome.
One thing I think you're going to see in the next year, as far as in the roofing industry, is Tesla's been talking about it quite a bit, the solar shingles themselves. Well, we've got one or two others that are ready to jump into that same arena and compete against them. So more and more of the solar paneling shingles are coming out.
very cool.
Yeah, we're excited about that.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, do we have any other questions on Windows? So we're heading into something that I experienced personally on my house with you guys. And I want to say a personal thank you, because nowadays I can go in the basement and see zero creatures, no spiders, there's nothing. All these long, multi-legged creatures that show up every so often, zero. And that was thanks to you for the installation that you've done all around in the basement. And every time I show the basement, I either point out and saying, this is a good thing, or this is what you want to do with it. You are installation pros. Could you share more about it, please, with us?
You want to start?
Go for it, Mr. Certified Remodeler Specialist in Insulation.
So I guess to start off with, we are big advocates and trade ally of a program called Focus on Energy. It basically was created to help people reduce their energy bills, homeowners, without having to pay the full expense of what it actually costs to make the improvements to the installation side. But they do have facets of HVAC and some solar things that are out there through Focus on Energy as well. But our main focus is the insulation and air sealing and ventilation side of things. And we recommend a lot of times an energy audit to end up being done in order to give a clear, conscious way of actually going down the improvement route. So a lot of times, and it's had many, many years before energy audits were being used, insulation improvements on a retrofit home, on a pre-existing home, were more of a guess. And it was an educated guess, but you're relating concept to theory. And instead of that, now we're really seeing true data by having these energy audits done, which is a pressurized test that's done. And it basically creates a controlled environment of the home on the inside. So the energy auditor can take infrared camera testing and airflow readings. And just like you guys, I'm sure all the time end up recommending, you never want to end up using, obviously, the seller's inspector when you do an inspection, or you end up having an inspector come in. We recommend that same type of approach. So we recommend an independent auditor to end up coming in, and he does the pre-test, which is the energy audit I just described. And he actually will also come back at the end, and after we do some work for a homeowner, to check all of our work to make sure it's done properly. And that also will end up qualifying them most of the time for the Focus on Energy incentives, which there's anything from $800 up to $1,500 off. And that's an instant discount on our bill. And then the Focus on Energy program pays us back, being a trade ally with them.
Specifically, though, the work that was done on your house is the area of the sill boxes is what you're referencing. And that is in the basement, as the joists go across or rafters go across, it's in those outer boxes. There's two advantages for that. You had mentioned the critters because of the fact that it's actually sealing that up from the outside. What's funny, a little story for you, Mother Nature's way of letting us know that there is airflow coming into those areas is a spider will form her web, knowing that bugs will be coming through, so the web is already there for that purpose. I'm sure you found that as soon as we put that up there, it was a lot cleaner and not as much airflow was coming through, so therefore you didn't have to worry about cleaning that as much. The second benefit, as going back to the airflow, has to do with that first floor that's right above there. because cold air radiates and stays down low into that area, it'll make that floor quite a bit colder when that isn't done, or just fiberglass is put in there. Once we end up air sealing that completely off, you'll find that floor to be substantially warmer and more comfortable. So, but we also will use spray foam in other areas, along with cellulose insulation. And if we need to, we'll also use fiberglass. Everybody's muted.
Yeah, I said you're well.
Yeah, here I am. I actually have a question on Focus on Energy program. Any idea we can give to our listeners as far as, you know, the potential savings that can come from Focus on Energy? Like what should they expect, maybe percentage wise, or out of the overall project cost? Be it a roof, be it siding, be it windows, insulation.
All right. So it's basically going to, with Focus on Energy, it all relates in our perspective to the insulation portion of it. The HVAC contractors will also end up telling you that a more efficient furnace and HVAC all the way around is going to actually save them on a monthly basis off of their energy bill. But the initial, you know, discounts that are available are flat dollars based on the types of work that they end up doing. And that's where Jordan was coming up with the example of between approximately $800 and $1,500 off of the project itself. So it's like getting insulation work done on sale. But as far as with the return on their investment, insulation is one of those items where you will see a very substantial return on investment when you insulate and you air seal. And I'm talking about between 80 and they claim over 100% returns over a period of time. Because your energy bill, let's be honest, energy isn't necessarily going to end up seeing a reduction of their therm rate pricing or your bills on a monthly basis. Typically, it's going to continually end up rising on an annual basis. This gives the opportunity to be more energy efficient and save from that perspective. And that continues on, obviously, you know, from year to year to year as well.
It'll also save your furnace and your AC unit from dying as quickly too. So, I mean, the life of that is obviously so important because of the expense that it actually costs to replace.
Yeah, that's a good point. I personally am excited about the solar roofs. We'll see how quickly they'll be around, right?
Yeah, we hope so too. Before COVID hit, we were supposed to be going and getting trained with them, but so far we have not gotten the update and the go ahead to come down and get trained. But we are excited. We are really hoping it's going to open up very soon.
That's awesome. So just one question on insulation. We talked about the basement. We know people put that in the attics. It's in the walls. If I have a cathedral ceiling and there is no attic, do you guys blow that in? You can still evaluate what I have there without looking at it. Like how do you, like, could it be improved?
So that's a perfect situation where we would definitely recommend an energy audit. I mean, we get calls all the time, obviously, where ice dams are occurring because of cathedral ceilings, and realistically, it's bad designs. I mean, you kind of, when it comes to retrofitting on our end, we have to choose accordingly between ventilation and insulation. And if for an ice dam perspective, or heat loss is basically relatable to an ice dam. Ice dams occur because of heat loss that's going up. It's melting the snow that's sitting on our roofs, and then it's going down to an area that heat loss isn't happening anymore, and then it's freezing up and backing itself up. That's a basic ice dam. So if we can stop that heat loss from occurring, the ice dam should not end up actually starting in the first place. So basically, we recommend the energy audit to confirm that plan is the right plan without having to cut open your walls or your ceilings, because we don't have X-ray vision, unfortunately. I'm not Superman yet.
I was hoping so.
Yeah, I'm trying. You
You're
can
the
put
magic
Krypton in your
guy.
windows, but
Anything else? Did we miss anything as far as what you guys do or anything that homeowners could be aware of? We are in spring, right? So this is
Yeah.
the time to start the project and hopefully finish it before the snow.
totally. And this year's a weird year with that as well. With COVID, timelines have extended tenfold, unfortunately, and we've all seen what happened with wood pricing right now, and it's being affected just as much as well. So pre-anticipating on what projects you want to get and finding that contractor early and getting a contract signed early on so the contractor can order, the products right away is going to be way more important than it ever has been in the past. We've seen up to 18 weeks almost sometimes on certain products be coming in, which is insane as far as longevity wise. The other thing to keep in mind is that a lot of times the adding siding or roofing or even changing the colors on your home can be daunting. I mean, a lot of homeowners can't picture this little swatch, and picture it all over their home. So what's different and what we end up offering is actually the ability to take pictures of your house and transpose and show you what different options of products, including anything from the stones to shakes to anything in between, as far as colors to different actually variety of products as well. So being able to actually visualize what your home would look like afterward, or at least a good representation of it, is so cool. And that's probably one of my favorite things I do, is that I can render it for people. And not every company can end up offering an actual image that's rendered on there as well.
The other thing that I was going to bring up, you had the time of the year right now. Things are starting to bloom. Trees are starting to have leaves. Leaves have a tendency of causing problems in gutters. Make sure that the gutter extensions are properly attached far enough away from the home so that there's no basement issues. Check the gutters, make sure that they're pitched properly. Make sure also that they're large enough system as well. I mean, that trough, the older homes would have smaller gutters, troughs, and smaller downspouts. We're seeing more 5 and 6 inch gutters, more even of the 6-inch varieties now, and 4-inch downspouts. Gutter guards, they're available, but I can tell you pros and cons of most of them that are out there, that there are issues, that they end up having. But for some homeowners, it's better than the alternatives of leaving the gutters not, cleaned and getting filled up and causing all sorts of problems for the home. Does that help?
Yeah, for sure. The gutters, yes, and the downspouts. Because even in a new construction, sometimes you can see those 3 inches, right? And that is really sad. Yep. And then the water is splashing all around it. And here goes the foundation.
And it is considered a fairly inexpensive problem to fix, for a homeowner to get new gutters put on, because over a period of time, if they weren't installed with enough hangers or supports to the gutter itself, the pitch has a tendency of changing and altering and causing problems. So sometimes it's almost better off to replace rather than trying to repair.
Yes. Well, Jordan reminded me that you guys are not only pros in the product and quality of it, but also the colorists, because it's super important when you hire a professional that they actually can recognize the swatch and know what the color is going to look like, because 99% of people cannot. And right. I still remember Randy for choosing the right red feng shui color for my front door, in one of the projects. That was the perfect feng shui red. So thank you. And I was like, really, this is the one? Yes, go with it. You know your colors.
A little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, and it runs in the family, right, Jordan?
Oh yeah, no question.
Awesome.
So I got 5 swatches sitting next to me right now.
Anything else, guys, or are we good? This has been wonderful.
Well,
thanks for dropping all that knowledge on us. Thank you.
Well, thank you for inviting us to be on the call with you. We appreciate that. And hopefully your listeners got some good tips from this.
And real fast, email address, or is there a website?
Yep, it is Allrite, which is spelled Allrite, remodeling. So it's www.allriteremodeling.com, or it's allrite@allriteremodeling.com is our email address.
Easy enough.
Right?
And if you want it done right, you call
Yep.
Allrite.
Exactly.
You beat me to it.
Well, it's better when it's somebody else who says it, right?
Definitely.
That's true.
True.
Quick question: what
Thanks
areas do you
much,
guys serve?
guys.
I'm sorry, what?
What areas do you guys serve?
Basically, we'll go as all through Ozaukee County, Washington County, Waukesha counties, heading south, Milwaukee County, obviously, Racine, Kenosha, out that way as well. I've done the gamut all the way through those areas.
About an hour radius.
So much. I'm gonna